Those Were the Days is filmed before a live internet audience.
Welcome to Those Were the Days, the show where we take a look at classic TV and talk about it through a modern lens. Now, we're still talking about science fiction TV this time around, and like a kid who is good friends with an adult neighbor who's also a super genius, I need my good friends to come help me talk about our show this week. First, we start with the super strong Steven.
Look, I didn't know this guy was the neighbor for the first 30 minutes of the show, and I was like, why is this husband so confused? His wife loves him. Anyway, this threw me off. I loved it. Thank you, Jerry O'Connell, for your contributions to modern entertainment.
Next, we have the high-flying Amy.
I think my favorite sitcom trope of the 80s and 90s was the sheer amount of power that a class president could yield. Like, you think presidential, like, you think that U.S. presidential promises are overreaching and blown out of proportion. No. Student council president is where the lies really start.
That's true. And finally, we have the super fast Travis.
Hey, so I'm the cool guy at school, and you can tell that I'm the cool guy because I'm wearing motorcycle boots and a leather jacket over top of a vest, and I make extremely recent and relevant references like Watergate in the mid-'80s.
How to know a show is written by adults 101. Watergate scandal in the first 8 minutes of the show.
So if you haven't figured it out, and you probably haven't because you probably didn't even watch the show, we're talking about a show starring Jerry O'Connell, a science fiction show starring Jerry O'Connell. No, not the one where he travels parallel universes. Nope. We're talking about My Secret Identity. Now, this was actually a Canadian show syndicated in the U.S., which is why some of you may have no idea what we're talking about, with Jerry O'Connell as a teen who accidentally gets superpowers. Now, before we talk about it more, how about you guys? What's your connection with My Secret Identity? Steven?
I had no idea this show existed. And I was like, holy moly, Jerry O'Connell. He's a decent actor. And I was like, I was let down continuously as I watched this show go on. And I, too, loved the fact that this centered around the class president election. Because all I could think about is when my class president election came on and literally no one cared. If the form hadn't been sat in front of us, we would not even have known we had one. Like, I don't know. That guy over there seems all right. Checkbox.
Yeah.
What about you, Amy?
No, not a clue. Nope. Nothing. And I'm usually a big fan of Canadian television, but this one did not cut it for me. This was wild. This was so perfectly a timestamp of the 1988 to 1991 microcosm of the world, where the vest was king, and that was all it took. But yeah, no, I had no idea.
How about you, Travis?
It was about wearing layers, right? You always wore layers.
Layers.
So my memories of the show date back to earlier this week, watching it for the first time.
I was like, holy crap, he knows about it.
I have known of this show for the past, number of years that it existed. I did not know about it when it was on the air. I never watched it, but I had heard of it, and I knew enough about Jerry O'Connell to be like, oh yeah, he was on some show back in the late '80s called My Secret Identity. That was it. I didn't realize that it was like poor green screen for flying on a harness, random abilities, I guess, but like, I don't know. It was something. It was something.
Honestly, the effects in this are kind of better than Smallville, if you really, like in spots. Like, I actually believe that more than Clark Kent flying or jumping very far.
But then there would be things like the super speed, which the Flash probably a year later did better in so much as the effect of blurring him is one thing, that's fine, but there was nothing around, like nothing environmentally was disturbed by him running past at Mach 2. Like, one of my favorite things about the newer Flash series was that they just basically had a huge budget worth of like fans and blowing paper around.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be, he would just apparate into a scene and you would get the papers flying off the desk, and they did that all the time. And there was none of that. Like, he's running down the hall at the school and nobody cares.
There was some of that.
A little.
Not
There's a
enough.
little paper flying, and they were very selective on how much they did that.
Well, the budget probably wasn't very high, and they did a good job with the running because the blur is effective. Like, there's certain movies, even modern movies with super speed, that you're like, I don't believe that for a second. That looks terrible. Like Superman 1 in 1979, you can give it a pass. It looked terrible then too, but it looks real bad like in Wonder Woman. I'm sorry, there was something wrong with the super speed in Wonder Woman. I don't know what it was, but like when the legs don't move fast enough to kind of like when they look like they're sliding on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Captain America and Black Panther, when they run, you're like, okay, I believe that, but it's not like Mach 17, so you can kind of let your brain. But I thought the blur was pretty good. Sorry to take us on a tangent there. I just have feelings when it comes to
That's going to be
effects.
this episode. I'm sure of it because of how great. Like
It's not like there's a lot of plot to discuss.
I was going to say I didn't pick this for super quality as much as just I remember watching this because it was syndicated in Atlanta, and I remember watching it and had a soft spot for it. I was like, okay, let's do something that maybe not everybody has seen.
Sure.
And apparently, I picked a good one because
Yeah.
nobody's seen it. So, My Secret Identity, produced from 1988 to 1991 on CTV in Canada, syndicated in the US, and later actually shown on the Sci-Fi Channel because they needed
Sure.
something.
Yeah, they
that's-
needed.
We got 30 minutes to fill somewhere.
So it starred Jerry O'Connell as Andrew Clements, who is good friends with this super genius scientist neighbor, Dr. Ben Jeffcoat. And basically, in the first episode, he's cutting the Dr. Ben's grass, goes to look for him inside his house, and gets zapped with some kind of photon gamma beam and gets superpowers because of it. So, and that was most of the first episode, and just him figuring out his powers.
Lucky.
Yeah, and it's funny because I talked about this when I was telling you guys about the show. So 1988 is when this show premiered. That's 2 years, just 2 years after Stand By Me. O'Connell is still got a little of the pudginess at that point. Like, he kind of goes through puberty through this particular series. Like by season 2, he starts getting looking more like the thinner Jerry O'Connell we see. This is like the second episode in the third and final season, so definitely looking a lot more like closer to the Jerry O'Connell we know or get to know through the stuff we see after this.
Well, because there was a period there where his weight didn't change. He just kept growing taller and
Right.
stretching that weight out.
Right. They all do
Mhm.
that, right? Like
Yeah.
that's the kid thing. They get a little chubby and then they sprout.
But
You're
not
like,
like all at the
Mhm.
same rate. Like some kids,
No,
their arms
no.
grow
No.
to human man size, but their body
Mhm.
does it. So like they can tap their knees while they're walking along. Like
Yeah,
I've seen
yeah.
that happen. It's really strange.
Real good.
Oh yeah.
Humans are broken.
That kid's arms are extra long right now, aren't they? Yep. It's not
And,
just
like
you.
It's interesting the superpowers he gets. He starts out with super speed. He's invulnerable, has super strength, and the ability to float in season 1. He doesn't actually control himself at all. And one of the things that they had him do a lot in the first season was carry aerosol cans around to point himself. I think by season
That's
2
how
they
we
were
got
like,
the hole in the ozone layer.
Yeah, that's where the CFC joke came from.
So,
exactly.
so he just had to have a can of propellant on him at all times.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah. But then the writers were like, we got to stop doing that. In season 2, he could just kind of fly. Slowly.
What teen
but he'd
boy
fly.
doesn't have propellant on him at all times in
Yeah.
1988?
Right guard
I mean,
spray.
that's fair.
Let's go.
Yep.
Mhm. And there's a couple times throughout the show where he loses his powers when exposed to certain radiations like electromagnetic waves or X-rays, and it depends on the season on how much he actually loses his powers for whatever given time.
It's a good thing those aren't just bouncing around the atmosphere all the time.
Yeah, right. Never get hit by him. It's whatever the
Yep.
plot demands.
Yep.
Yep. And so, Jerry O'Connell is obviously the most well known in this cast of everybody. Derek McGrath plays Dr. Benjamin Jeffcoat. He's been a character actor around, same as Wanda Cannon, who plays Stephanie Clements, Andrew's mom. But other than that, not a whole lot. We've got Christopher Bolton as Kirk in this episode, Andrew's BFF. And he
That
didn't
you
show
had
up
to
until
have
season
in
2.
this time.
Yeah,
Like-
you had to have one.
Well, they took a whole season to get there because he didn't show up until season 2.
Ooh.
And it's a good thing they did. Like he definitely needed somebody to bounce off of.
Yeah.
And then he's got a sister played by Marsha Moreau, named Erin, and that's your main cast for the show. And then, all the little guest stars here and there doing different parts.
I was trying to figure out what specifically my brain was trying to place Derek McGrath in. And of course, it's another Canadian TV show. It was Kim's Convenience. And I couldn't figure it. Like, I'm like,
Oh,
I know
yeah.
I know him. I know him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's Kim's Convenience, which is an
Yeah.
incredible
He
show.
looks like an amalgamation of a few different character
Yes,
actors that I've
absolutely.
seen too.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like he's an offshoot of the DeLuise family tree somewhere
Yeah.
along the line.
Sure.
Like I don't know. It's just there's something about him.
He's a Frankenstein
Spoiler alert,
character.
We'll get to that.
They created the $60 man, and that's what they ended up with.
And Steven, don't feel bad about not knowing whether or not he's the father figure in this family or not,
Right?
because it is probably one of the dumbest things they do in this show is play with that trope of a relationship between him and mom Stephanie.
Yeah,
So
he just
before-
walks in their house, hangs out. Like, no neighbor what kind of... Canada's different, I guess.
We did that a lot too, though. That was the 80s and late
Yeah.
80s and 90s. We were always having neighbors just walk in.
The kids
Um,
would,
Mhm.
but not like
Yeah.
the single dad just rolling into the
Yeah.
kitchen. Like it was always some other kid just would kind of wander in, like
Mhm.
Kimmy,
Well,
or
Yeah.
Steve Urkel, whatever.
and he's not even a dad. He has no kids of his own.
Right.
He's
So
just a
what is he
bachelor
doing
dude.
there? I'd be like, dude, can you knock? Like I got children
just-
here.
Apparently friends.
Yeah,
Good
we're
friends of the
not
family.
together.
And
Before
they don't
we
get into
before we see him with the mom, he was like, at one point he was standing there in his cardigan with his hand on his hip, and I was like, is this 1988 gay? Like, are we like, is he like, I can't figure it out. And then we got to close your beautiful eyes, and I went, all right.
like, no, not this one.
All
Yeah.
right.
But in fairness,
sir.
he's wearing a pastel cardigan and he's standing, one hand on
It
his
was
hip.
real
Like,
good.
I get it.
It's shorthand. I really
What
think
the thing is too, he has the great job because like Hollywood, in Hollywood, or in this case, I don't know what you would call Canadian Hollywood.
Canada would.
Toronto.
Toronto.
Yeah, Toronto,
Vancouver.
like
Yeah.
the jobs, the jobs that you have are like architect. Like so many people are architects, but also the other catch-all is inventor, right? And he's an inventor,
Mhm.
so that just gives him the ability to have whatever scientific knowledge they need.
Yeah.
Yep, pretty
and
much.
he can somehow support himself with a home and a lab on an inventor's salary.
He's
which-
broke. I don't know where that money's
Well,
coming
he
has
has
from.
to
Getting
be.
grants. It's fine.
No, it's funny.
Uh,
They don't get into it, but in other episodes they talk about he's actually apparently a famous scientist person. He just happens to live in this neighborhood for whatever reason. So,
I think we know why he lives in this neighborhood.
Yeah. Mom next door.
mhm.
Heyo.
So with this particular episode, it's funny. I picked it because it had like double the sci-fi tropes in it between just the superpowers and then the whole mind swap
Freaky
kind of thing. they
Friday.
do.
Freaky
Yeah.
Friday.
Yeah. Except they don't go full Freaky Friday.
No.
Um,
No, but it apparently gives you amnesia or partial amnesia.
or yeah, maybe.
I think because
Yeah.
it seemed like they didn't remember anything they did with their other personalities.
Yeah.
But then at the end, the mom kind of does because she mentions whatever the bungee cord jump,
Yeah.
which
Mhm.
has never been said in the history
Now,
of
No one calls
creation.
it that.
no. Now, the daughter was doing a video, so she could have seen it happen.
True.
That's fair, and I've experienced that, so I know what that's like, and it is weird. To see video of yourself that you don't remember happening.
You want to tell us a little bit more about that on the Those Were the Days After Dark, Travis? Is that
Yeah,
what-
we'll talk about that later.
All right.
I loved how he gets out his little whatever that gizmo was, which is just like a whirligig.
Yeah.
Like it has no electronic parts on it whatsoever, but it's just spinning and shooting a beam out, right? So we're hitting all the sci-fi tropes.
So
And
good.
then you could see it coming from a mile away when the two of them the two boys walk into the house
Mhm.
and
You're
they
like,
stop.
"Oh,
And obviously,
oh."
like they're them stopping like that and being like, what is going on here? But they don't say anything. And then all of a sudden the mom falls asleep and her head tilts to the side and the beam hits the prism behind her and shoots on them. I was like, oh yeah.
Definitely missed
Mhm.
that part. Yeah.
Yep.
I I love a good hypnotism thing too. I also like that, like it's another one of those things, right? It's like up there with diagnosing a woman with hysteria. I was like, listen, a little hypnosis is gonna fix all of this. Don't
Yeah.
even worry about it.
I'm a trained
Hypnosis.
professional because I have this gizmo that I put together.
They had
PVC pipe and
phones.
pinwheels.
They had phones right on the beach. That
yeah.
part killed me.
Mhm. Sure they did.
Man, she hated
Yeah,
Denise.
I had a
You
I had a
hear
phone
that?
on the beach.
Did you hear that tone when she was on the phone with Denise? She was
How
not. I
dare.
could tell from a mile away. Also, no one says anybody's name. I remembered that from the old Penny Marshall. Please don't make
Yeah.
me call her Shirley every episode. Thing, and she was like something Denise. I was like, nobody's gonna say the other person's name on the phone. We don't care.
No.
Writing is hard, but we don't have to do that. Also, the words
Listen.
dried chud were mentioned somewhere in all this, and
Yeah.
it just really, really got me good. It's like, you're a dried chud.
I wondered who was going to be the one to bring up dried chud. Like, I knew it was going to happen. It was just a question of which of the four of us were gonna break that seal.
Dried
Okay.
chud.
So for those of you who have not and will not ever watch this episode, so it starts out with Andrew and Kirk talking about political strategy for student council president. Andrew's running apparently.
The very important and influential job of student council
Right.
president.
Bull crap.
But he also apparently has a little thing for his opponent who he's running against. She's in the gym and all of a sudden some equipment falls off the wall. And he races over there, uses his powers, is not seen, speeding through the gym right behind her.
Yep,
Not
nobody
seen,
notices.
holding this big old thing of bars up and pushing it back against the wall. And then once everybody leaves, he just lets it fall and crash, and it's just like, oh, okay.
That's the teenager part. That's how you're reminded that he's actually just a teenager. He's like, well, nobody's gonna die anymore. I'll just let this go.
Right.
Seems like a problem for the PTO.
Yeah.
Right. And then we skip to his little sister Erin trying to do a video diary, who's videoing her mom talking to her friend Denise, who went to Tahiti without her for reasons. And mom's not happy about it. Then we go back to Andrew and Kirk talking about stuff. And it's funny, this is where they tie it into the whole, like how they tie it into actually swapping personalities. In that they're talking about their different strategy. And Kirk convinces Andrew to loosen up. Andrew decides to go with honesty, which Kirk is impressed with. And it's just like, okay. So then we go back to mom trying to fix the sink at home. And this is where we get Dr. Ben Jeffcoat showing up. We're like, okay, random dude. But, again, he's a friend of the family. Everybody knows him. He just shows up and talks to Stephanie. It's like, what if we try hypnosis? Because I know about hypnosis.
Because I'm an inventor.
Yeah, I
Exactly.
know things when I need to.
Uh-huh. And so Ben gets his little device, uses it on Stephanie. She falls, and the boys just happen to walk into it and get hypnotized themselves. It's funny because the phrase that Ben uses for everybody is, what was it?
You'll have traits of the person you most admire or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
So for Mom Stephanie, it was Denise who went to Tahiti. And for the boys,
No,
it's
for mom Stephanie, it was Susan from Desperately Seeking
Yeah.
Susan.
Oh,
Yeah.
Madonna's
that's right.
character in Desperately Seeking
Yeah.
Susan.
right.
Yeah, because she hates
Now
Denise.
let me tell you, as
Yeah.
the one friend, like as the friend without kids, I do feel for Denise. Like it's not up to, like it's not her fault. She's allowed to
Mhm.
go to Tahiti.
Yeah. But Andrew and Kurt come in and they get zapped. And apparently because they were admiring each other just before this, that's how that works.
Sure.
Okay,
So-
so not who you most admire, but who you most admired recently.
Right.
Okay,
like
good.
in the Ninja Turtles cartoon when Splinter explains that he turns into a rat because he was just touching a rat, but the turtles turn human because they just touched a human.
Right. Logic.
Mm-hmm. So, so Mom Stephanie is now carefree and just tells Aaron to take the day off of school. And Aaron's just
Incredible
kind of,
negligence here.
okay.
Now,
We'll
I will
deal with the
say-
truancy office later.
Yeah.
She was given the morning off of school to edit her video
Right.
in 1988 or 91, whatever. Like you're not editing a video in the morning in 1991.
Mhm.
No.
Like
No.
now, sure, but in 1991, you're not getting it. That's not happening.
Even now,
Right.
you're gonna
That's
need a lot of
days.
time. You could edit a real bad video in a couple hours.
Yeah, like you can do your TikTok, like that's fine. But
Yeah.
yeah,
And still, someone her age getting a morning off from school for that,
yeah.
that's pushing it. But okay. Anyways, Mom tells her to take the whole day off. She's like, okay. Then we cut to Andrew and Kirk, whose personalities are so different that they have to dress differently to make sure we know.
Why do
You
they
get the
each
point.
have these clothes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Andrew
I get why
happens to have a
Kirk
wardrobe
has.
of Kirk.
I understand why Kirk has his clothes because that's definitely like my
Sure.
mom makes me dress like
My
this on
mom bought
picture
this
day.
because when we go to grandma's, yeah.
Yeah, but there's no reason for Andrew to have a leather jacket and those
None.
terrible steel-toed boots.
They were not
Um,
good.
And not the steel-toed you're thinking of. I'm talking about like the ones with the actual metal on the tips of the
Yeah.
boot. They're bad.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. So we see Andrew being all Mr. Super Cool. Asks Kirk to go get some drinks. Kirk doesn't, so Andrew just uses his powers and brings the whole drink machine right outside the door.
Because he's a cool
Without
kid
anybody-
now.
And then kicks it
noticing
like
anything.
Fonzie,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
which is of course the epitome of cool,
Yeah.
as
Mhm.
all of us teens in 1988 know.
Oh,
Fonzie
yeah.
was actually cool, though. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Actually cool.
Then we get Stephanie Mom coming back after apparently being out at the beach all day with Raul the artist.
That dude's name's not Raul. That guy's name is Chuck, and he is really
Oh.
faking it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, he
And
sounded
so,
like Master Splinter. I don't know if everybody caught that, but his accent and the tone, he sounded like Master Splinter's from the 1991 Turtles movie. Go back and
Yeah,
listen
a
to
little
that. I
bit.
guarantee you'll hear it. You'll hear it.
And so Stephanie's been blowing off work. Erin apparently has been fielding her calls at home because she stayed home today. Then we cut back to the high school, and apparently we're giving speeches to everybody outside. Allison Ritchie wants to fight global warming,
Sure.
banning CFC products, which I had to look up to remember what the heck a CFC product is.
Chlorofluorocarbons.
Yeah, we
Mhm.
were spraying
Yeah.
those in the air all over the place back in the day.
Aquanet, baby.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Again, Andrew was doing that season 1, so.
Yeah.
Callback.
Mm-hmm.
All the cosplayers cosplaying as My Secret Identity Andrew, spraying ACFCs all over the place. Like, could you stop?
And then Andrew gets up to work the crowd, and he's like, "Oh yeah, that's cool. Hey, why don't we do like the cool kid who's running for student council president? Let's do the cool thing." So he wants a lunchtime dance.
Yeah.
Now,
That's his platform.
to his credit, at least that seems viable.
Mm-hmm.
That seems
True.
like something a student body president might be able to make happen.
And I mean, there are worse platforms to run on.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Like free soda machines.
Yeah.
That's the
Mhm.
one you always hear. Free soda
Every
in the
time.
cafeteria.
Yep.
And it's that's
Mhm.
not gonna happen.
No.
Nope.
But I mean, is it in keeping with the spirit of stupid teenagers in like freshman, sophomore year to say stupid things like that? Like, we're not mature at 15.
No.
We're just
Oh,
looking at
yeah.
them because they're basically adults playing these characters.
Yeah.
So we have different standards. But a real 15-year-old might be like, yeah, free soda, and believe it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
True.
Does anybody remember student council actually doing anything at their school? Because
I was the treasurer of my class. I counted the money.
The only thing I can think of is like every year the senior class would like buy something for the school, right? Like it was like a new sign for out front
yeah.
or like it,
Senior gifts.
whatever. And student council was mostly in charge of that. And then Sue Palizzi, our class vice president, I get emails from her still about, reunions and stuff. So like she's still out there. She's doing the good work. Like we
I
clearly
don't-
chose well. We chose
Yeah.
someone who was gonna go with it.
I don't remember our student council doing much of anything. I remember more of the group that called themselves the Gideons and their pranks that they pulled, like putting a couch on top of the library. Because they would do things and they would write "placed by the Gideons" on them.
That's really good.
Okay, that's hilarious.
Yeah, they win. That's actually clever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They get points.
That's good.
But
'Cause I was
student
sitting there
council,
like,
not a
what?
clue.
Gideons?
We just had to stay after class sometimes and sit in a room, and everybody would pitch these ideas, and then I would have to tell them that was a bad idea because 7th graders don't want to talk to seniors because they're afraid of them. So having all the 7th graders go get stuff from seniors is stupid. And I was like, give them to their homeroom teachers. Guys, come on. Somebody they trust, they can talk to. Y'all have never been nerds before. This is your problem.
Yeah.
I do remember there was like a computer dating matching thing once that you filled out a survey and then they ran it through a computer in 1996 and you got a paperback with your like top matches in your class. Yeah.
That's cool.
Nice.
Was it
yeah.
accurate?
I don't know. None of the people that I matched with were like would talk to me. I wasn't cool enough.
Their loss.
Couldn't tell you. Can tell you the guy I was dating at the time did not make the top 15. So, that's fine.
When you just write them in yourself.
Yeah, it's great. It's great, honey. We're doing everything's
look,
great.
Look how we are. We're great. I wrote it in. We're fine.
Everything's going really well.
We don't need a
We
computer
sure did
to
hold
decide our
Color
fate.
ink.
Stupid computers.
That or you just keep singing opposites attract.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Duh.
Yeah, there you go.
obviously.
Okay. So Dr. Ben goes to check on Stephanie mom, and he's quite surprised by the way she's acting. She even asks to go on a vacation with him. Then Kirk walks in, and Dr. Ben is like, "What is going on?"
Well, because Kirk walks in looking like, Beaver
Andrew.
Cleaver.
Right.
Yeah.
And then Aaron comes in and shows Dr. Ben the video of what her mom's been up to. And Ben's like, "Oh, I know what's going on. This is my fault."
Yeah,
Yeah.
dog.
You meddled.
And immediately gets his little machine to unhypnotize them.
I'm glad it
And
has a
then goes to
reverse
find-
function. Like just turn them.
Yep.
Right.
He's like,
You just reverse the
It'll be
polarity.
normal.
yeah, tachyon pulse. It's fine.
hmm and then goes to find Andrew to do the same thing with him.
And that doesn't go great.
No,
So
because
great.
he finds Andrew skywriting to vote for himself.
Mhm.
Our good doctor convinces Andrew to come to his lab. Andrew starts talking smack about making money from the powers and how he could blackmail the good doctor for giving him the powers.
It was
The
wild.
good doctor's like, yeah, I could also have you arrested for trespassing because that's what you were doing when you got it.
Did anybody notice though when he was skywriting, like when he came down, how he was staring at his skywriting gun like he was really confused about it? Like he's just looking at it like, what is this thing? I don't know. And the doctor's like, hey Andrew, he just goes back to looking at it. Like, is that what people do? Like they're done spray painting and they just wander around just looking at it. Look at this thing. Look at what I could do
Look
with
at
it. That is
It's a
crazy.
marvel of modern science.
That, or it was just such a weird prop. Jerry O'Connell just couldn't take his eyes off.
Yeah,
It's
he's
like,
like,
just
who
like, I
built
don't.
is this supposed to? How's this supposed to
Feel
work?
alive.
Is this
Milk
really-
carton
this
with
work?
like part of a spray gun on it.
So, but Andrew gets unhypnotized, and then we go back to school. Andrew apparently was easily elected, but he decides to step down because he knew it's not a good thing. Tries to ask out Allie, Allison Ritchie, but apparently Kirk beat him to it because Kirk, as Andrew personality, apparently really bonded well with Allie.
In the
Uh,
vestiest vest that has
Mhm.
ever been worn.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Why?
That's
Which-
definitely a relationship that's going to last.
It's
Right. I mean, even Andrew says I'd give it a day.
Yeah.
And knowing what we know about Kirk, we're all like, yeah, probably.
hmm
And then we come back to the house. Ben and Aaron are there. I mean, Andrew and Aaron are there cleaning up. Dr. Ben comes in. Andrew spouts out some junk insults to him, and he's like, "What? That not work?" And Andrew's like, "Ha, just gotcha. It was a joke."
It was like actually
then-
mean though. Like what he said was really
Yeah.
not nice.
Mhm.
Like, oh,
Yeah,
I'm just kidding. I was just messing around being really mean, but I'm serious.
right.
yeah.
And then Stephanie mom comes in and says, "You know what? I'm going on vacation." Now Ben, we have to say, comes in wearing a
Hawaiian shirt.
Hawaiian type shirt, sunglasses, looking like he's ready to go somewhere. Stephanie comes in saying she's going to go on vacation. She's going to go ahead and do it. And then she gives Ben a nice little kiss on the cheek. "I'm sure the kids won't be any trouble while I'm gone."
In her defense, he did offer in the beginning of
True.
the episode.
It is very true.
hmm
No, my
Because
favorite
he
part of
conveniently ignores the fact that she was under hypnosis when she was like, "Hey, we should go to Aruba."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like that was fine.
Yeah.
That
sure.
was all right.
He
yeah,
was
because that
hoping
was
that
my
would
favorite
stick.
part of that whole exchange was when the kids are like, "Oh, where are we going on vacation?" He's like, "Well, your mother and I." I'm like, wait a
Right.
minute, hold on now.
no,
Back
And
the truck up
no,
there,
no.
Ben.
And again, it's the on again, off again thing they play with their relationship in this whole series, which is, again, kind of dumb. Because I watched some other episodes, and it's like they keep playing with it. It's like, are they together? Are they not together? Are they trying to be together? What? Define the relationship, people.
I did figure out the components of the Frankenstein that is Derek McGrath and
Uh-huh.
who he reminds me of.
Mhm.
So I'm going to give you 3 names. All right,
All right.
Okay.
Peter DeLuise,
Sure.
old Marlon Brando,
Yes.
and Bob
Mhm.
Newhart.
There
Oh,
you go.
yeah.
good combo.
Like if you just mash those 3 together like 3 piles of clay, you got Derek McGrath.
There's
So
some
the best-
there's actually some Linus Torvalds mixed in there. Like, have you ever seen a picture of Linus Torvalds?
Yes.
It's real close.
Yeah.
I was like, dang, I
there
didn't know
is
he
a
did
little bit of
TV.
that in there too. That is a good call.
Yeah.
So the best is in Kim's Convenience. He plays like one of the local repair, like he's a repair guy, and all he does like every time he comes over to work is talk about how sad he is that his wife left him, and it's like a whole thing, and it just feels very the same. It could be this character
Oh my gosh. That would
30
be
years
hilarious.
later. It's just like sad his wife left him.
Good continuity.
Yeah.
Now I need to go back and watch that just to have that in my head canon.
hmm
Oh, Raoul, by the way, is played by an actor named Ed Healy.
Okay, I was close with Chuck.
One of Ed Healy's known fors is the role of Raoul in My Secret Identity. So
So glad
when that's in your top 4, you've had quite the career.
It's more of a career than any of us have had, you know?
Right.
I mean, it's true.
Yeah, he tried and he made it on Canadian television. Way to go, buddy.
And that's the end of the episode, folks, by the way. That they just ended there. Like,
Mm-hmm.
mom's going on vacation. Ben is sad. My secret identity.
Mom's going on vacation looking like actual Barbie. Because the outfits in this show, man, it placed it in a time, like a very particular 4 to 5 year stretch is where this lives. It's not, you can't look at it and go 90s or look at it and go 80s. It's like, no, it's in this weird transitional period between the two where neon was still alive and sideways ponytails were a thing. It was something else. Those vests, man, were those ever cool? Like, does anyone ever recall normal people who wore vests, or is this just a Hollywood
Again,
thing?
it was all about layers, right?
I would
You
like to-
couldn't just wear a T-shirt. You had to wear a T-shirt with a
With a
vest
thing,
over it or
yeah.
a jacket.
Plead the fifth on all of this. I definitely had vests. I had vests. I remember silk shirts being a thing.
Oh yeah, I remember
I
that.
made a lot of
yeah.
choices. My mom was very supportive of my individuality.
Yeah, my
For
mom
better or
was.
worse.
My mom was still dressing me during this period, so I just whatever she put in the closet is probably what I was wearing. Mostly Looney Tunes t-shirts because I was that kid.
Yeah.
Oh,
But you
yeah.
also had the we talked about the steel-tipped motorcycle boots.
Yes.
There was the Wayfarer sunglasses that are like 3 different colors. It's the front of the frame is one color, and each side bow is a different color.
All very loud.
all-
Saturation is turned up
Yes.
high.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. There were. I did see somebody in the background that had the top. She had dark hair, but the top of it was dyed like red, just like fire engine red. It was quite impressive.
Did anyone else notice that Kirk was a latchkey kid? He had his key on a
Yes.
necklace. Yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Cool detail. Kirk's parents aren't at home. That's why he's a punk. That's what they're trying to tell you
Yeah.
there.
Yep.
Yep.
Also, what is a dried chud? What is that?
It's not
How can I
good.
use it in a sentence tomorrow at work?
I think you just use it however you want, and everybody's
Okay.
going to assume you're.
You use it exactly the same way as Kirk did, which is
also-
you reveal something mildly embarrassing to yourself,
Sure.
right, that you find to be mildly embarrassing, and then tell the person, if you tell anyone, you're a dried
You're a
chud,
dried chud. Just
and
gonna
walk
walk in,
away.
be like, this
Leave
project
them
is such a
confused.
dried chud. They're like, what are you talking about?
There you go.
Don't worry about it. Listen to Those Were the Days. Get on it.
So yeah, that was my secret identity. Any other thoughts, insights about this show from you guys?
Yeah, I love talking about it with you all. Like, I would watch
Yeah.
it again just to talk about it again because it's such a time capsule. I adore it in a weird way. I would not sit and seriously watch this, but I would watch party it with you all in a hot second and love every minute of
Absolutely. It's interesting too because it's a half-hour, basically multicam sitcom
Yeah.
or single cam sitcom, but it's trying to be like the sci-fi type show, which would usually be an hour long,
it. Mm-hmm.
and so they're taking like the plot that you would have in an hour-long sci-fi show and cramming it into a half-hour sitcom with sitcom rules.
Yeah.
So it was just like, you're hypnotized. 2 scenes. You're not hypnotized anymore. And everybody's happy again. Like, it just felt, I felt like did we miss something? Did I miss a part? Was there part of this video? No, that's just what it was, which is
No.
fine.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny how much it's shot and played as a sitcom, but it's never comedic
Yeah.
or trying to be
purpose.
comedic, you know?
Yeah, it's funny, but unintentionally funny, it seems like.
Uh-huh.
It has the ABC sitcom family TV DNA just all over it. Like it
Yeah,
looks
I
like
mean,
it could
it's-
have fallen out of a 4 o'clock after school block on any like TBS. Like that's where it lives in my mind.
Yeah, like it's written and produced as if it's a sitcom, but it's shot like it's a sci-fi show.
Yeah.
So it's
Mhm.
it's a weird mishmash, I guess. That I wasn't, for whatever reason, when it started, I thought I was getting, all right, I'm getting, not the X-Files, but like something like that. The X-Files, The Pretender, like that type of a show.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
An hour-long procedural. It's not what it was. And once I realized that it was a sitcom, I'm like, oh, okay, well, this is cute.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, like you said, Stephen, a watch party type thing.
Oh yeah,
I'd be all for it.
100%.
Yeah. If it was anywhere you could do that. Like,
Yeah.
had to go on YouTube to find it. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's my secret identity. Now, next week, we have Steven's pick. Steven, what are we watching next week?
We do, and we are stretching the definition of sci-fi real hard with where we're going. But I can't think of any other category that this show would fit in. And you're gonna have to bear with me because I'm gonna tell you the show and then I'm gonna tell you the episode. The show is the Dick Van Dyke Show. And what you might not realize is that the Dick Van Dyke Show did have a sci-fi themed episode. And it is called It May Look Like a Walnut. I think this is one of TV Guide's like most popular episodes of television ever created, or at least it was back in the early 90s. But it is an episode where we go on quite the sci-fi journey with Dick Van Dyke and his amazing shenanigans. I cannot wait to watch this episode with you all. It's going to be great. There's a little foreshadowing, actually. If you watch the video of Those Were the Days, a clip from this episode plays during the intro. Yeah. Oh, did you know? Now you do. Also, if you didn't know, there's video for this show on the YouTube. You can go find.
Mhm.
So you should check it out sometime. You can see our beautiful faces. Except for Amy's this week. Her face is hidden behind a silhouette.
I'm hiding.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's
It's my secret identity.
It's just so she can do her stealth attacks. That's all.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me. That's also season 2, episode 20 of the Dick Van Dyke Show. Available on Peacock, Crackle, Freevee, a handful of places you can watch it. So go out there and check it out and join us next week.
Excellent.
For
Awesome.
sure. Now, if you want to let us know your, your thoughts and opinions on My Secret Identity or the Dick Van Dyke Show, you can write into us. Those Days Show. What is it?
Those
Yeah.
Days Show
those days
Those
show
were
is
the days show.
that's it.
Those were the
at
days show
gmail.com.
at gmail.com.
So good.
You can find us on the app formerly known as Twitter. I refuse to call it anything else, at Those Days Show. Or just come join us on the Two Dorks Discord. It's the most fun.
You should.
What's that one again, Steven?
That is twodorks.net/discord. It'll drop you right in
you
the
go.
chat. You can start saying hello. And we want your feedback. Like this is not us just doing a bit the last 30 seconds of the show. This is sincere. We want to hear from you.
Oh,
We want you to
absolutely.
type us anything. Send us any messages you want. If you don't remember the Twitter and you know what Amy's Twitter is, send it to her. We'll
Yeah.
we'll filter it out. Just hit us up, man. Get out there.
Absolutely.
Definitely. We want to hear from you because, there are folks out there. Maybe you loved My Secret Identity. You watch it
Yeah.
all the time. I'd love to know that. You
Yeah,
know,
maybe you're
Where did you
Canadian.
live that it was syndicated? Because it wasn't syndicated here.
Yeah. Maybe you're Canadian and you love it. JF, looking
Yeah.
at you. Where are you at?
Nah. So, but yeah. So this has been our show. We'll see you next week as we talk about the Dick Van Dyke Show. It may look like a walnut. I'm excited about this one. So, For Amy, Steven, and Travis, I'm Audie, and we'll see you next time when we talk more about how those were the days.
Bye.
Bye.
Stupid Denise.